ladies. I think we're between you and lunch, so we will make this quick, but make sure that this is as insightful as we can so you get your money's worth for being here. How about that? So I think our topic today has to do with women in leadership and are we investing in others as well as investing in ourselves. So the questions that I've actually asked the panel of esteemed ladies here is 3 questions. First and foremost, the question is, what does leadership and women in leadership actually mean to you personally as a person? And I know for us as women, we tell lots of stories, and stories is really the way in which people talk about the experiences that they have. So I'd really like to hear your stories. The second thing is, how did you as women invest in yourself when it came to being a woman leader? We go through so much changes and we go through so many challenges as well. So how did you challenge yourself and how did you invest in yourself? We talked about much earlier, women who were wonder women, and we kind of knew that there was no such thing as a wonder woman, as we know that there's no such thing as a wonder man. So, from that perspective, what did we do in terms of women to actually invest in ourselves? And what are we doing as women leaders to actually invest in others? So I'm going to turn this over to the ladies on my left first to have you guys come up with, the inputs for me. And then after that, we'll move to the ladies on the right. All right?
Thanks, Jacqueline. I'm Madhuri Sen, and I head We Communications. Do you want us to summarize what we got from the 3 questions? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay, so essentially to address the first question, which is what does leadership mean to me, or rather women in leadership mean to me, like I clearly think there's no gender tag, and I think that was resonating in the room even before, that leadership doesn't really have a gender tag, and that's precisely why we don't need discrimination on that, reverse or the other way. And leadership, of course, very broadly, is a really huge subject. I think for me, on top of mind, it's really it's a noble role. It needs all sorts of qualities. I'm not going to really wax eloquent on that. But the other interesting question you raised about how did you really start off in your leadership role? For me, I guess I had it sort of easy with having, being a kind of person who naturally likes to take the lead. So I was quite the natural leader as a child, and then started my career quite young. At 16, actually, I had a full-time job along with full-time college at 16, and I was leading quite a large team. But that really came from, having been brought up in an environment with parents who never let me think about the fact there was something I could or couldn't do because I was a girl. And pretty much, me, my sister, and my brother pretty much got the same training and coaching. And so I learned about women discrimination once I got out of home and school, really. Yeah, so I'm privileged, and I appreciate, that privilege. And just in case you think my mom and dad were really, really young or new generation, any of that, no, my dad was 1933 born. And if for those of you who understand how it works in India, he was also born and brought up in north of India. So no, he was just an exceptional man, and my mom was an exceptional woman. So, I'm just grateful for all the privileges. And in very short, investing and, giving back to, women leadership, as well as, how do I invest in myself? I do believe, we are all, we all need to first invest in ourselves first, much like, all the airline instructions we get saying, put on your own oxygen mask first, before you try to help the children and anybody else who needs help. And for me, my oxygen masks are threefold. One is looking after my own health, because if I'm not healthy, I can't look after my child. I have a 16-year-old boy. I can't look after my parents, and I do take direct responsibility for them even more than my siblings, because they are in different countries, I'm here. And so health for me is extremely important. So that includes right from being able to run in the morning, cook for myself. I cook for myself twice a day because I believe in fresh food. And make sure I get to sleep, and I make sure everybody else around me does that too. And the other two big biggies for me are R&R, rest and recreation, make sure I stay happy, and learning, constant learning. I always try to see if I can learn new personal skills and professional skills. You know, it just excites me. I like the thrill of doing new things. So, and that's at the core of investing in myself and for giving back. I always find that when it comes to when it comes to what are the biggest challenges I face as a woman, if I have, and like I said, I learned discrimination once I got out of my house. It was two things. It was expectations, being a woman, and stereotypes, being a woman. And it took me a long time to really, you know, kind of join the dots around those expectations, stereotypes. So a lot of time I spent with women coming up in leadership or in my workforce, or even outside of my work for leadership. It could be even, you know, work from home moms or any of that. I really work with them to be able to break through those stereotypes and expectations, and yes, trying not to be Wonder Woman, because I think that's important. Learning to invest in yourself, making yourself special, looking after yourself, and being able to break those stereotypes and expectations that are set because you are a woman. Thanks. I'll pass this on to Sharda for her words.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think the energy level is a little low. But I'd like to say something. I'm very happy to be here. And I'm sure all of us have similar journeys. And there might be some points which kind of differ for each of us. I'd like to just share my experiences about, you know, what do I think of women as leaders is what Jacqueline was asking us. And we all fundamentally believe that there is just nothing about being a woman leader or a man leader. We all lead teams, groom them, mentor them to excellence, right? That's something we do commonly. But I believe the two things which are very specific to what, you know, as women we experience and grow, which is perseverance. I think we never give up. And that's why we're all here today, and I'm very proud and humbled at the same time. The second bit I think we need to do as women, and we somehow find that capacity and ability to do is, we somehow manage a work-life balance, and we do it beautifully. So we are happy in terms of trying to juggle a lot of balls in the air and try to do our best in all. And I'm a complete believer of the fact that there's nothing called perfection. There's nothing called, you know, doing a role perfectly. You do it to your best, and you do it as excellently and as fulfillingly that you can, that you do something and you say, wow, I loved this. I've given it my best. And I think that what, you know, kind of makes you as a woman and as a leader feel good about yourself, and whether we like it or not, people feel inspired. We're not aware of it most of the times, but I do have a lot of young women coming to me and saying, you know, we want to be like you someday. And all I tell them is just be yourself, stay focused, and life will just take you on the right path. To answer the next question about how do I kind of look at investing in myself and investing in others, I think this is a, you know, blessing we have. Being a woman, it comes naturally, right? We're constantly saying, hey, please do it this way. You know, this is better for you. That seems to be good. So we are constantly, apart from being a nurturer, we're constantly wanting to give back. We're constantly wanting to do the right things. And even if it's not our role or particular KRA, we'll stretch out, reach out and say that, how can I help? I think this has been really life-defining for me. Personally as well as professionally. So personally, I like to keep learning, right? So I keep doing new things. I keep learning new hobbies. So while that really makes me feel like a student, even as I sit here today. And the second thing is I believe that people who are working with us 9 hours a day need a personal kind of relationship where they are able to kind of blossom into their best. So kind of creating those conversations with them, trying to help them, you know, kind of articulate their dreams and just allow them the wings that those dreams need. I think this is a great, I think it's my responsibility to do that to my people who work with me or people who are with me in my circle. And I feel that's very fulfilling kind of, no money can give you that kind of a fulfillment. And I think as leaders and especially as women in leadership, a lot of that is what we will stand out, which no man can do. So this is something I recommend to most people, independent of them being a woman or a man, is that you need to take a break sometime in life. So I did that post 20 years of work. I just took a year and just stayed with myself. I refused to get tempted to do some consulting work or just go for, a kind of a faculty guest lecture, anything of that kind. I said, I want this time for myself. And a time of doing nothing, a time of not having agendas, a time of not having any goal to pursue apart from just being yourself. And let me tell you that 1 year, I just connected with myself like I had never before. And I think I recommend this to everyone who can do it. I think we deserve it a lot. And what happens once you come back post a break like that, you suddenly realize that your priorities are right. You change everything about the way you do things, the way you see life, the way you kind of think what's important, what's not. And you free space for yourself much more than you were able to earlier. So you become far more efficient. You push people in your teams to become far more efficient. And everybody, you see a ripple effect of work-life balance happening across the organization. So I think if you're not able to consciously do it every day, then a break does that for us. And I think I would recommend that to everyone. Thanks, Jacqueline, for reminding me.
So to build on what both of you said, I think the journey for a leader begins with believing in oneself. When we believe in ourselves, the world believes in us. And as a leader, it's pretty important to have that faith as a starting point. Also, as a build-up on the leadership and investing in oneself, personally for me, a defining moment was when I went through executive coaching. And it gave me the time and space. You took a break to do it. I discovered myself through that, a year that I invested in myself with the help of an executive coach. And that transformed me as a leader, so much so that I went and got myself accredited to be a coach. And it's not that I practice it for a living, but it has immensely changed the way I behave as a leader and the way my team has developed and grown over the years after that. Another aspect that I believe every leader should realize and should map is own skill set, soft skills as well, for self and team, and surround ourselves with people who have the skill set which we don't. So individually, our score should be less than what we collectively as a team can deliver. So having people in team who have skills which you don't is a great way to build a team that can succeed better than the individuals could have. I think that has helped tremendously over the years. And for my team, what I worry about, though currently I have all men team, but in the women around, what worries me is not the fact that they don't have the capability. It sometimes worries me to see the aspiration deficit in the younger lot. They seem to have wanting the more prioritized towards a work-life balance rather than have a goal and ambition. And that is something no one else can put it in people. And so for me, it's really, that is what is bugging me as a diversity leader within the organization, and I work with a couple of organizations, as to why do we have this ambition deficit in the young ladies around us.
I'm Renu, and I lead Groha and American Standard in India, and I've been the managing director for 4 years now. While, I was reading a lot of notes, and I must admit that a lot of people said that they had, natural flair for leadership. I am absolutely the opposite. I've been a very shy person all through my school. I have just 4 friends, closest friends from school, and 3 from college. That's my entire life, so my 7 closest friends. And I think a lot of transformation happened from the kind of careers that I pursued. I think a lot of, I would say, leadership and investment came in there. I think I've taken a lot of risks in my career. I have worked in roles which were not cut out. I'm a finance MBA, so I did not go into a traditional banking or a mutual fund industry. I just started with a startup. And everything that came my way, as all startups are, I'm talking about 96, so didn't have money. And the liberalization dream was just unfolding, and Manmohan Singh had just announced. So we were like a starved startup. So there was no money for an HR, there was no money for an IT, there was no money for a supply chain. So I think I ended up doing all because I wanted to. So I think the first 9 years of my career in two organizations which were startups, I really invested a lot of time in learning functional skills, which were what I was not trained for. And I think that also brought about a lot of people interaction. I mean, HR in particular, I'm not trained HR. But then, it does give you that how to interact with people and what to do and what is the right way of doing. You end up recruiting people, you end up developing policies which you're not trained for, so went through a lot of courses. So the organizations also invested. And there is, over a period of time, trying to lead such a large organization, you get that leadership trait in you. So sometimes you're not born with it, but sometimes, you just develop it. So I would say I'm an example of that. Because whoever knows me from school knows that I was the quietest person in the class. So that's how, it has transformed me. Now I get onto the stage and I get on to, do a panel discussion like this is a real transformation, even if it's in 20 years, because the first 23 years it wasn't the same. So I think from that perspective, a lot of investment is I think it is co-owned by the organization that you work for and also in you. So like, I was very impressed when she said that, I took coaching and training and I actually went on to certify. I mean, that's a great example of how you can find avenues of investment. So that's something which your organization has to allow, your time has to allow, or taking a break for 1 year. I will do it for sure and I will let you know. So I think that's something which are the investments. But then, what we are doing, what I'm seeing that I should do, I actually mentor 2 people in my organization every year personally, along with my group of managers. It can be men and women alike, but because we're just only 15% women in our organization, so you have those many little women. But I'm happy that at least every alternate year, there is at least one woman who comes up in that role. We are ensuring that they get next level opportunities. We are giving them international experience. We are making sure that they get that environment where they can seek opportunities and they can actually make a career out of that. So that's one initiative which is very strongly entrenched. The second initiative that we have as an organization is that we have created something called a A-team below the A-team. So below my leadership team, there is another A-team which we rotate every year, and they're put on various projects which are like live projects. So they come out with marketplace initiatives which we actually implement. So it's not just that they come up with a project and that is shelved in somewhere. So they come up with marketplace initiative which is customer or consumer, and then we implement them. At least 2 in a year that we at least target to do that, and every year we rotate this team. So then you have a pool of high potentials which would want to stay in the organization and would see that there is a career path, and even if they move out of the organization, they at least are better individuals. So it's not only about trying to do this as retention, trying to do this to make them as better professionals. So that's something which as leaders we owe to the industry overall ecology that we work in. So I think that's what we do, investing in people. I would say that.
Thank you. I'm Sonali Sinha. I am an investment banker turned entrepreneur. So after 16 years in investment banking, I decided to join the social sector because I felt my work needs to have some social impact. And I did that for 3 years. I was CEO of an NGO called Dignity Foundation. And then I felt that, no, I have always wanted to start something on my own, and I should have the courage to do that. And I just did that last year. I set up a company called Soaring Eagles Learning, which is all about actually paying back. It is all about developing, helping people build successful careers by developing social and emotional skills, problem-solving skills, and commercial awareness. So very brief introduction about myself, getting back to the questions that Jackie has asked. So since I'm actually in the business of leadership development, I'll just define what a leader means to me. A leader is a person who can articulate a vision. It could be for a company, it could be for a country, and is able to inspire others to actually work towards achieving that. So that is what a leader is. That's the sum and substance of a leader, and that does not have any gender tag, like a lot of others have said. You can be a woman. We have so many great examples sitting right here, where it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, as long as you are able to articulate a vision and you're able to inspire others to work towards it, right? Women, like everybody said, we are nurturing. So we have a natural tendency to be able to inspire others. But somewhere I feel a lot of women tend to lack self-belief, which is very essential. Like one of my panelists said, that you have to believe in yourself before others will believe in you and will follow you, right? So leadership is open to anybody, and I think women have great potential. I think it's time for women to start recognizing themselves as leaders and start believing in themselves. So coming to the second and third question, how did I develop my leadership skills, and how am I, helping others develop that? Instead of going through my journey, which I have very briefly shared, I came from a totally male-dominated industry, investment banking. You will see very few, 1 or 2 women in the top levels. But that never really stopped me from speaking my mind. That never really stopped me from, reaching out and doing whatever I wanted to do. So I believe there are these 5 things that I want to leave with you in terms of things that help me and the things that I tell others so that it can help them. Number 1, it's clarity of purpose. I think it's very important for us to know where we are going. I keep saying this to everyone. If you don't know where you're going, you will never get there, right? So the first step is to have clarity of purpose. That purpose can keep changing. For me, purpose was investment banking, reach the top. Next, it was social sector. Then it was set up your own business. So purpose can keep changing. But at each stage in life, if you're clear about what you want to do next, what is it that you want? And that could be family-related purpose also. It doesn't have to be only career-oriented. But have a clear purpose that will motivate you to do well. That will give you the courage to actually chase your dreams. The second point is, courage of conviction. You have to believe in yourself. Obviously, you need to work hard. Nothing comes free. You know the 10,000 hour rule, right? You have to put in the hard work. But after doing that, please, it's very important to believe in yourself. I can share an example. After joining my first company, to just a year out of campus, after doing my MBA, I had the opportunity to present to the RBI Deputy Governor, which is the banking regulator, on consolidation in banking. This was 20 years back. Any newcomer could have said, oh my God, this is too big for me, right? But I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity, right? And I went ahead and I did it, right? So that courage, that belief in yourself, that I have worked hard, I have read more than others, I know my subject and I will be able to do well. That confidence, I think in the earlier panel someone said, men show that confidence. They say in interviews, they say, I deserve it. Whereas women tend to keep, second guessing themselves. Can I do it? Am I really ready for this? So, it's very important to have that courage of conviction. Third, never shy away from responsibilities. I think all of us are leaders here, and we all know that the more responsibilities you take, the more you get, and that's how you move up in life. So I will keep that brief. The fourth point, step out of your comfort zone. I think some of you have shared the experience of actually doing something totally different and then discovering yourself. So it's very important to keep stepping out of your comfort zone, because we grow only when we actually put ourselves in a new situation. Every time we realize that, okay, we are not ready for this, but let me try my hand at it, that's when we actually grow. So keep stepping out of your comfort zone every day, maybe do something which you haven't done, and that will help you really grow as a person and grow as a leader. And finally, enhance your emotional intelligence. Because leadership is actually all about emotional intelligence. Your IQ and technical skills will only take you to a certain level. But beyond that, it's your ability to actually understand your emotions, manage your emotions, understand what impact you have on others, and manage those interactions. That is what is called emotional intelligence, and that is what will actually make you true leaders, and which will help you actually inspire others to follow and achieve their own potential. So that's it, those 5 points from me. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I think most of the points are covered, and everybody here is really, really waiting to get into the lunch format. So I'll keep it extremely short. First, is Mr. Bhatia here? Okay, here we are 6 of us, minus myself or yourself, and probably how many women would have attended this? Say 300, 400, anybody from organizers here to give me a number? 200? Okay, so you have 200 women friends now, and not just 4, yeah? Not just 4. So she started with 4, she today, by attending this forum, has 200 women as friends. That is what is the confidence you get when you come from diverse, professions, personal life, experiences come together. I love to be a part. Leave my office. It's a Wednesday. The wall is actually falling or the sky is falling on the work, but forget it. I want to be here because it's about understanding people. Life experiences, leadership is only, I know you, you had certain challenges. I will never have a duplicate challenge in my life as you are having. And I would like to quote somebody very beautiful here. One of the finest women leaders we've had in the history is Mother Teresa. She said, you can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do. But together, we can do great things. Isn't that beautiful? This is leadership. Even professionally, non-professionally, at homes, I would say managing my servants also need a lot of leadership qualities, and my husband is sitting there. He's seen my challenges. So leadership is not just about in the professional lives. Leadership is about I'm managing my people, I'm managing my family, I'm managing my friends, I'm managing my priorities, I'm managing my priorities again in future, I'm managing my priorities as a personal individual. And that's why she actually mentioned about I took a break for 1 year. So I think as a person, as a professional, I've learned very big and very important thing in my life is being decisive. This particular thing is something, or this quality or skill is not present or not developed or not, being motivated in Indian women. Because somewhere we all are always dependent on decisions. And when we start getting into the quality and developing this quality of decisiveness is when you actually feel confidence in your life. Be it any decision of your life, you feel that you have taken it, you're confident about it, whatever may be the result, you will own it, and you will be happy. When you go off to sleep, you want to be happy. Ultimately, the goal is that. So coming back to professional life, I've had a very long journey. I started earning when I was 12, inter-school competition, and won that and became a radio compere for an all India radio station. Did that for 5 years until a gentleman came to me and said, you're too tall, for this role, because this is for children's program. And I said, yeah, tall is one thing. Maybe I would be having good nutrition. What is the other thing? So he said, you cannot be more than 18. And I just crossed 18. So he said, now you can't do that. You need to be, your age has to go further higher to join us again. So what I'm trying to say is tasting money at a very young age really gave me that motivation to go ahead and do multiple things in life. Today, on a weekend, what I would do is go and speak to people in NGOs. I will try to figure out, I would not like to name many of them, but just understand what girls are doing, what they want to do. How can you influence, how can you inspire? Because influencing could be at different levels in a different way. Inspiring is something which is always positive. I can influence you negatively also. But inspiring is something which always comes with positivity, and that works in every and all spheres of life. Thank you very much. We all are waiting for lunch. Back to Jacqueline.